I think one of the things that really possibly have stood out over the last 4 episodes is that mud challenge, that mud pit battle. Possibly one of the toughest challenges we've had. It was just really crazy tough, sweltering heat. Essentially what really stands out is how hard these people are playing, and no matter what we throw at them, they just throw it right back at us. Sometimes mud as well. Well, the first time we played this challenge was in Santa Carolina in season 3 of Survivor SA. And it was just as tough back then. I mean, those balls are huge, and then they weigh 120 kilograms. That's without water being sucked into the wood, and that's without mud on top of that. Not only was it also sweltering heat in a valley, humid, but also they're exhausted, they're hungry, they're not sleeping well, and then they've got to battle it out. And you could see in that challenge, everyone at some point was just pushed past the point they even ever thought they could make it to. And then they just keep going. It was so hard to get a lead in that game because everyone just kept parrying, attacking and parrying, attacking and parrying. It was beautiful to witness. 2 hours, and it was still the tightest finish with only a couple of meters to spare on either side. And just hats off to both tribes for fighting all the way to the end. Ironically, one of the really, I think entertaining for us, but really tough for them elements was the foul play, the dirty play. The dirtiest game with the dirtiest play. Because of the desperation and because of the need to win, you know, they'll try anything. And some players are a little more dirty than others. You know the names that just popped into your mind when I said that. You know who I'm talking about. They know who I'm talking about. You know, it's so hard for me because essentially, apart from hosting the show, presenting the show, I'm also the referee. And while that's just really great fun for me most of the time and exciting, it's also a huge responsibility. I have to make sure everyone's safe. I have to call it if I see a leg going, under the ball, or an arm going into deep. It's really dangerous. This game is exceptionally dangerous. The last thing we want is people being taken out by medics. I always say you get voted out, and that's the only way to leave, or you stay to the end. But you do not walk out, and you do not get taken out by the medics. Nobody wants to go in the latter 2 ways. So the last time we had a medical evacuation was back in the Maldives, season 4. And we had this incredible challenge that was this massive net spun in the trees, and they had to run across. And it was very difficult to run on this net, and you were bouncing all over the place. And Vanessa Haywood was running across, and she bounced up and flipped, and she landed on her neck. I'll never forget that day. It was absolutely frightening. The first thing you think is, oh Lord, is she going to be paralyzed? And she was pulled from the game, and she returned with this brace around her neck. What a way to leave the game. I always say, please don't leave the game with the medics. We really try our best to make sure safety is, because it's of paramount importance to us. But this is Survivor, and it is dangerous. People do get hurt, and it's not just from the games, it's from dehydration, we have crazy critters, whether we're in South Africa on the wild coast, or whether we're in Samoa or Philippines, wherever we are in the world, there's always some sort of dangerous creature. There are loads of snakes, and so you can get injured in a myriad of ways. And we try to minimize that as much as possible. But again, this is the game of Survivor. These things happen. And of course, this time we had Shona being taken out by the medics, getting into a scuffle with Pinty. Part of the game is to fight one another off. We have certain rules. You can't go for the neck, you can't punch, you can't kick, you can't hit. But people slip, they fall. Maybe a bit of dirty play comes into it, and we try and manage that. But Shona went down, Pinty fell on top of her, and there was a rib injury, and we thought cracked rib. Thankfully, that was not the case, and she could return that night, and promptly went to get voted out the following night. So I suppose it wasn't meant to be for Shona, but I love the fact that on the way to the hospital for the x-ray, she said, please don't pull me from the game, please don't pull me from the game, please don't pull me. So it just shows her spirit all the way to the end. She didn't leave the game until I snuffed her torch. Gotta love that. Right from the start of the season, we told our castaways that this is going to be a really tough one. The stakes are higher. We're talking 2 million instead of 1. I mean, that's double that. So we kind of had to up the ante from our side, from production. So our challenges are much tougher, much more physical. Our puzzles are much harder. The game itself is hard because you're playing against returning players. So it's tough from a social perspective. It's tough from a physical perspective. And then we've made sure that they're hungry as well, that they work for every morsel of food. Even when they win it at challenges, we give them just enough for them to feel like they've been treated, but not enough for it to last them for days. So the essential bottom line is everything has been raised. The bar has been raised from every perspective. So right from the get-go, these incredible castaways have been playing not as if it's tribe swap, not as if it's a quarter way into the game, as if it's merge already. Everyone gunning for it. Lots of individual play going on. Within the layers of play. So you've got your individual, you've got your alliances or factions, you've got your tribes, you've got your cross-tribal play, you've got your pre-seasonal play. There's so much going on. I cannot wait to see what happens when eventually we do get to merge. You don't want to miss it.